political, security and economic bond. Coming together under the Alliance of the Sahel States, the three countries are now creating their own bank, the Confederal Bank for Investment and Development. This week on the program, we assess how far the Sahelian states have come since they kicked out France and broke away from the regional bloc ECOWAS. I'm Beatrice Marshall. Welcome to...
Before we begin, if you find this video informative, please give it a thumbs up. It helps YouTube recommend it to more people who need to hear this important update from the heart of Africa. In a significant step toward deepening regional cooperation, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have launched a new financial institution under the Alliance of Sahel States. The Confederation Bank for Investment and Development, with an initial capital base of nearly $900 million, represents a major economic milestone for these landlocked nations. This decision is part of a broader transformation process that began after the three countries broke away from the regional bloc ECOWAS and distanced themselves from France's influence. The Alliance of Sahel States, often referred to as the AES or the Sahel Troika, was officially formed on September 16, 2023, following the signing of the Liptako-Gourma Charter. Since then, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have intensified their collaboration in political, economic, and security matters, carving out a new geopolitical path that is being closely watched across the African continent and beyond. Earlier this year, the three nations officially withdrew from ECOWAS, rejecting a 6-month extension period proposed by the West African bloc. This move marked a formal severing of ties after months of diplomatic tension. Despite concerns about the implications of this decision, the Sahelian states have moved swiftly to assert their sovereignty and implement joint initiatives designed to secure their economic and political future. One of the key projects is the establishment of a shared bank, an autonomous financial body that will focus on long-term development and critical infrastructure funding. Until now, the three countries have relied heavily on commercial banks that typically offer short-term loans with high interest rates. The new bank aims to change that, enabling favorable lending terms to support infrastructure, regional trade, and industrial growth. Malian economist Modibo Maumalo explained that the bank is envisioned as a tool to finance large-scale development projects that go beyond the capacity of local commercial banks. With limited access to long-term, affordable loans, public investment in vital sectors like agriculture, roads, healthcare, and education has been constrained. The Confederation Bank for Investment and Development seeks to address these limitations by offering targeted financing options across all three countries. In addition to boosting internal investment, the new bank is expected to foster economic interconnectivity among AES member states. The three countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, are landlocked and largely dependent on cross-border trade with coastal West African countries. The bank could help strengthen their regional trade relationships despite political differences with ECOWAS. Security has also been a driving factor in the formation of the alliance. All three countries have faced persistent terrorist threats and instability. Since forming the AES, there have been efforts to consolidate defense strategies and share intelligence. The alliance recently announced plans to deploy a 5,000-strong joint military force to combat terrorism across the region. The security cooperation is seen as a response to long-standing frustrations over the effectiveness of international efforts in the Sahel, including French military operations and ECOWAS mechanisms. According to observers, the withdrawal from ECOWAS and France's military footprint has coincided with a more assertive stance from AES leaders, aiming to restore national control over territorial security. Analyst Blaise Toulo, speaking from Accra, Ghana, pointed out that the breakaway from France and ECOWAS reflects a larger historical struggle for self-determination. He noted that the alliance's moves echo earlier efforts by African states in the 1960s to form confederations for unity and development. Today's developments, he argued, represent a continuation of those aspirations.
Since they cut ties with ECOWAS and then France, I think that the The main point to make is about sovereignty and self-determination. And it has a history. You will remember in the 1960s that Guinea, Mali, and Ghana formed a confederation that was supposed to become the beginning of the unity of the African continent, which is actually a necessary condition for the development of the African continent. So this has been a major political struggle on the continent. How can we unify our continent to build up a certain economic program to advance the wishes and aspirations of the African people? Of course, after the 1966 coup, that project of African unity was truncated. And ever since, our people have been battling and struggling for this major political advancement, which is the unity of the African continent.
While the AES countries face significant challenges, including limited fiscal space, high youth unemployment, and cross-border security threats, the formation of this alliance and its institutions marks a turning point in the Sahel's post-colonial evolution. Despite their withdrawal from ECOWAS, the three countries have not yet left the CFA Franc currency zone, which remains pegged to the euro and backed by the French Treasury. The future of their participation in this monetary union is still under discussion. The CFA Franc's role remains critical for trade stability and inflation control, but it also symbolizes ongoing financial dependence on France. Paul Melly of Chatham House noted that the CFA franc continues to serve as an important bridge between Sahel countries and coastal West African economies. The monetary arrangement is still intact, and France has signaled that any reform must be a collective decision among all 8 West African CFA franc member states. Another area of transformation is trade. The majority of economic activity among the AES countries and their coastal neighbors occurs informally. For example, Burkina Faso trades heavily with Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana, Mali with Senegal, and Niger with Nigeria and Benin. These ties are deeply rooted in historical migration patterns, shared family lineages, and long-standing market routes. Analysts emphasize that while political divisions exist, economic pragmatism will likely push both ECOWAS and AES to find ways to maintain trade and labor mobility. Millions of Sahelians live and work in coastal countries, and any disruption to this movement could affect economies on both sides. The AES has already taken steps to reduce internal barriers. In early 2024, the alliance introduced a joint biometric passport to ease cross-border travel. It has also eliminated mobile roaming charges between member states and agreed to a unified 0.5% customs duty on goods imported from non-member countries. These changes are designed to increase intra-regional trade and build a stronger internal market. On the resource front, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger are home to vast mineral wealth. Gold, uranium, and lithium are among the most strategic resources found in the region. However, past mining contracts have favored foreign corporations, often resulting in minimal public revenue. Reforms have been launched across all 3 countries to renegotiate contracts and ensure that natural wealth contributes more to national development. In Burkina Faso, restructured mining agreements have reportedly funded the construction of new schools and healthcare centers. In Mali, investments in agriculture aim to reduce reliance on food imports and achieve food sovereignty. Niger, once plagued by chronic power shortages, is now seeing improvements in energy infrastructure, reportedly linked to renegotiated uranium deals. Despite these achievements, challenges persist. Security remains fragile in parts of the Sahel, particularly in rural areas where government presence is limited. Reports suggest that while joint military operations have had success, vast stretches of territory remain difficult to monitor. Analysts caution that rebuilding effective security institutions will take time and sustained effort. Furthermore, the alliance must continue to navigate complex economic realities, including integration with global markets, foreign investment, and shifting geopolitical alliances. The AES has expressed interest in strengthening ties with emerging global powers, such as China, Russia, and Turkey, pursuing what officials describe as win-win partnerships. Looking ahead, there is growing speculation about whether other African nations might follow the Sahelian model. Observers note that the AES is not just a political bloc, it's also an experiment in rethinking regional integration, sovereignty, and development from an African-centered perspective. The alliance's leadership has stated that returning to ECOWAS is not currently an option. Instead, they plan to deepen economic cooperation, expand membership, and eventually transform the alliance into a full-fledged federation. Their vision includes a unified economic space with its own financial systems, border controls, security mechanisms, and diplomatic voice. While it's still early days, the momentum is clear. The Sahel Troika is forging a new path, one defined by sovereignty, partnership, and a desire to shape its own destiny. As the international community watches this experiment unfold, one thing is certain. The Sahel is no longer waiting to be integrated from the outside. It is building its own institutions, crafting its own policies, and pursuing a future designed by its own people. If you found this report informative, please give this video a like so YouTube can recommend it to more people. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. How do you see the future of the Sahel Alliance unfolding? And don't forget to subscribe to Voice of Africa for more updates on Africa's path to unity, development, and sovereignty. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged.